was a wild weekend highlighted by a Rafael Devers trade. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Monday, June 16th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and we got a blockbuster trade on Sunday evening. Rafael Devers traded over to the San Francisco Giants in exchange for Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, outfield prospect James Tibbs, who was a first-round pick in last year's draft, and pitching prospect Jose Bayo. It's got many different directions to take this, but what was your initial reaction? What do you think this does for Rafael Devers' fantasy value?
I mean, didn't see it coming. In retrospect, maybe should have seen it coming, given all the tension there with Devers in the Red Sox front office. First, he balked at moving to DH after they signed Alex Bregman to play third. And then he balked even harder at their suggestion he moved to first base and seemed kind of petty about it. And it created a roster complication for the Red Sox. Kept them from promoting Roman Anthony as early as they would have liked. This is, me speculating to some degree. This isn't all known, but, if I'm just thinking along with them, it kept them from promoting Roman Anthony as early as they liked. Eventually, they did call him up because Wilyer Abreu went on the IL and opened up an outfield spot, but Abreu doesn't figure to be out for long, and when he comes back, it would have been the same problem there with Anthony. And so I think the Red Sox looked at it all. We've got a guy who can't play third base anymore, refuses to play first base, is just a DH, and these 10 years and $300 million we owe him, that's just not a good allocation of resources for a full-time DH. And so they decided they regretted the contract. They found a team that was willing to take on the whole thing, and they got a few assets in return. I think that was the thinking. I don't think that's much comfort to Red Sox fans, who obviously have seen a lot of stars traded, and they thought Devers was going to be the exception. But it just became an unfortunate situation. And if you just break down the financials, you can understand why the Red Sox did it. As for what it means for fantasy, I think that it means less than the real world implications. It is a downgrade park-wise for Devers, but maybe not to the extreme you think, because Fenway Park actually really tough place for a left-hander to send it out. And you compare the expected home runs by ballpark, according to StatCast, San Francisco versus Boston, Devers over the years comes out about even. So I don't really think he's going to lose much power-wise. He does lose the BABIP advantage that comes with playing at Fenway. But the last 3 years, his expected batting average, which is venue independent, it doesn't factor in venue. It's been right around 270. He's actually batting 270 this year. I think maybe he loses that 300, 310 type batting average ceiling that he would have had with the Red Sox, but the actual experience of rostering Devers in fantasy, what you end up feeling, is not going to change that much. I do think Kyle Harrison is going back the other way. Maybe has some renewed sleeper appeal, just given the Red Sox ability to take pitchers who have a fastball, but not much else, and the fastball isn't good enough, and add other pitches onto it that work well with it. Maybe they could do that for Harrison, but he's going to start out in the minors with them. And so that's kind of a speculative point.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll hit the rest of this weekend's news and headlines right after this. Welcome back in FBT Express. Shohei Ohtani had been ramping up as a pitcher, and then boom, out of nowhere, we learn he is starting Monday against the Padres. This will be his Dodgers pitching debut. Keep in mind that he is expected to be used as an opener. Maybe it's just 1 to 2 innings. I don't think this changes too much, Scott, but it's just exciting to see Ohtani, the pitcher, is back.
It moves up the timeline. He's going to be usable, if nothing else, because we had no idea. Now the ramp up begins. It is a ramp up because he's not going on a rehab assignment. They're not taking his bat out of the lineup to do that. So probably just an inning or two this first start. It just so happens the Dodgers have 7 games this week. So Ohtani going Monday, even if they space out his start an extra day, he's going to be a 2-start pitcher, start in air quotes, because, probably just an inning or two. But if you want to use him as a middle reliever in place of a middle reliever in a roto league, if you're starting a middle reliever normally just for the ratios help, I don't think Ohtani is. It's not so out. It's not so crazy to me that you might try out even this 1 to 2 inning Ohtani for a 2-start week.
As a pitcher, though, like you wouldn't choose to use him as a pitcher instead of a hitter.
No, obviously not.
Yeah.
If it's the type of platform where you either start him as a hitter or a pitcher, and he's not 2 separate players, then of course you're getting the hitter. You're using the hitter Ohtani.
For sure. All right, Scott, we see you rocking the Spencer Strider shirt. Is he back? He had the best start of his season so far, 6 shutout innings with 13 strikeouts. Of course, it came against the Rockies, so you put a little asterisk there, but this is very clearly the best that he has looked all season. And then his teammate went and one-upped him on Sunday. Grant Holmes, 6 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs, 15 strikeouts against the Rockies. So is Spencer Strider back? And what do you think of this outing for Grant Holmes?
Well, if it was just the 13 strikeouts for Strider and everything else was the same, I'd be a bit more skeptical. Maybe it was just a Rockies thing. Even as it is, okay, maybe facing the Rockies gave him 3 or 4 extra strikeouts. But it would have been 9 or 10 even in that case. And the biggest thing is it was evident from the first inning before he even started racking up strikeouts. Strider was throwing 97, 98 in the first inning instead of the 94 to 95 that we've been seeing coming back from this elbow injury. And so I tweeted it out right then. I knew big things were coming. I didn't necessarily expect 13 strikeouts, but I expected it to go well, and it did. Overall, his average fastball velocity ended up being, it was up 1 mile per hour from his season mark. But it was 1.5 for most of the game. I think the velocity kind of trailed off in that 6th inning. It was a big step forward for Strider, and it was a big sigh of relief for those who are invested in him because, obviously we'll see what the next start holds, but this is the Strider we wanted to see. And as for Holmes, topping Strider by 2 1 day later, kind of diminished that a little bit. Says something about the Rockies, but even for Grant Holmes, so he's never done 15 strikeouts before, never did double-digit strikeouts before, but this was his 4th start in 9 with at least 9 strikeouts, coming within 1 of double digits 4 times in the last 9. That's pretty impressive in its own right. He now has 11.6 K per 9 during that 9-start stretch, does Grant Holmes. That begins that 9-start stretch. Like his slider took a leap then, and he's clearly been an effective pitcher after that. The walks run high, the home runs run high. I'm not saying Holmes is a stud, but he is a good enough strikeout pitcher that you can deal with the mid-3s ERA and the high-ish whip that are going to result, I think. I think Holmes not quite must start, but definitely must roster.
And lastly, Logan Gilbert will be activated to start Monday against the Red Sox, which makes him a 2-star pitcher. Scott, are you okay throwing Logan Gilbert right back in lineups?
I mean, I said I was with Yuri Perez, and it didn't go well. Not that we're moving on from Yuri Perez, but it's another reminder that all things being equal, you'd like to see these most talented pitchers prove their health first. I just think 2-start status is so rare for anybody that when you get a pitcher this high end, you got to kind of throw caution to the wind. Hopefully it won't go as poorly for Gilbert as it did for Perez. He's not coming back from as serious of an injury. So yes, I do think I would start Logan Gilbert for 2.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.